Hi everybody, as promised, I am creating this video this afternoon for those of you who need to rewatch what we learned about during class today. So first I'm going to walk you through the steps of how to use Google Slides to create the worksheet. When you click on Google Slides, the worksheet is going to pop up. As I said earlier, you might find that this little teeny square is a little bit tough to work in. So you can always click plus slide and add some extra slides. I actually added an extra few slides just so that I could have some room to show you exactly what to do on a larger scale. Somebody earlier today asked me, Mrs. Swistak, how do I get rid of the text boxes? Very simply, you just click on it on the line so that it turns blue with those little blue dots and handles, and then you just either hit your backspace button or you can edit, delete, and it will take it right away. Alrighty, so our first shape that we learned how to draw was the cube. And like I said today, I was very impressed with how many people already knew how to draw the cube. Let me show you how to do it here. So you're going to go to your shapes, that little icon, circle and a square. You're going to find the square. You're going to stretch it to make it a square shape. I'm going to move it over so I have some room to work with. Now I'm going to go ahead and change its color so of course you can see it easier, and its outline, and I like to make my outlines a little bit thicker. Now if you remember in this sheet here, it's going to tell you you need a second square. You can let Google Slides do that for you by simply doing two things, or one of two things. You can hit copy and paste and it will go ahead and pop that same square in again. Or, as I told you, while this is selected, if you hit Control D, then you'll get your second square exactly duplicated. Now, remember, on our worksheet here, the second square is up a little higher, but it does still overlap, and it's over to the side a little bit, just like this. Now, here is where we need to do a little fixing around here. I want to make sure this top square is behind my first one. I'm going to make sure I click on it so that it's selected, so the outline is blue. I'm going to click Arrange, then Order, then Send to Back. And now that second square is behind my first one. Now I'm going to need to connect all my corners, all three of my corners, to each other. And I'm going to do that by selecting the Line tool. I'm going to draw myself a nice little diagonal line, and of course Mrs. Swistak likes to make it dark and a little bit thicker so you can see it easier. And now I can go ahead and drag it over to the corner. Of course I didn't make it long enough, so I'm going to hold on to this little blue handle here. I'm going to click and drag it over to that square, and it's going to link right up with the square behind it. All right, now I need to do this 2 more times. Make your life easy. You can either copy and paste, or because I can use Control D and I need it 2 more times, I can use Control D once, Control D twice, and there goes my 2 lines that I need, and I can go ahead and put them right in the corner. Now the most asked question from today was, how do I make sure that all of these pieces stay together? You're going to go up top here underneath the word Format and look for the Select tool, that arrow. You're going to select off of your shape you made, and it's going to click and drag, and it's going to select everything. Once everything is selected, you're going to click Arrange, and you'll hit the word Group. And once you do that, then your shape should be an, oops, didn't work. Let me try that again. Arrange. Let me try selecting it again. So I'm going to select it all. I'm going to click Arrange. And why is it saying ungroup? Let me try group again. And it should, yes, there we go. It should be all attached so you can move it around and resize and stretch and rotate as you need it to. All right, our next shape was the cylinder. All right, so I'm going to hop down to my next slide. I'm going to use the circle to make myself an oval. And I'm going to bucket fill it with a color and make a nice dark outline so you can see it better. And I need a second oval. So here we go. You can either copy and paste or use that Control D while it's highlighted. And there you have a second oval. I'm going to just move it out of the way so that when I do the rest of my drawing, it's not in my way. So I'm going to use the line tool again. I'm going to hold the shift button while I draw my line so that it stays nice and straight and up and down. I'm going to make it dark. I'm going to make it a little bit larger, and I'm going to need a second one. So here we go, either copy paste or Control D. If you don't know what Control is, it's down at the bottom left corner of your keyboard, and it's CTRL. So Control D duplicates the shapes. Now you'll notice as I moved my shapes around, you see how the little red line is popping up? That red line is automatically lining things up for you so they stay even. All right, and there goes my 3D cylinder. Once again, you're going to click that arrow button to select, click off of your shape, drag around it, and then of course you're going to click Arrange and Group, and you can now move your 3D cylinder around, resize it, stretch it, rotate it, whatever you need to do. Okay? Now remember, in Google Slides, there is no erase button and there is no bucket fill. So if you wanted to bucket fill or erase the lines on your shapes, like I showed you when we were drawing, you might instead rather use the Sketchpad program. That's up to you. I'm just showing you how to do it in Google Slides, although most of the versions or the features that you see here on Google Slides you should be able to find on Sketchpad. All right, so our next shape was this hexagon here. So I'm going to go down to my blank slide. I'm going to delete these text boxes. And again, I'm going to use that shape tool. I'm going to find the hexagon shape. I'm going to create it. Now, somebody in my earlier class had asked me, Mrs. Swistak, can I make my shapes transparent? You totally could make your shapes transparent. I will show you how that works with this hexagon shape. So I'm going to use the bucket and hit transparent. Now, with the hexagon, I need two. So yes, once again, edit, copy, and paste. That's one way of doing it. Or while it's selected, hit Control D, and you'll get that second exact duplicate of a hexagon. Now I'm going to need to go ahead and connect every single one of my corners to each other. So I'm going to use that line tool again. I'm going to make a nice, sometimes it does that. You got to click it a couple times. I'm going to use that line tool. I'm going to make it dark and a little bit thicker so you can see it. I'm going to move it over to my corner. And of course, it didn't make it long enough, so I'm going to use that little blue dot to stretch it on over to there. Now, because this is a transparent hexagon, I need this line to be duplicated once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So I'm going to either, once again, copy it and paste, or while it's selected, Control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Control D 5 separate times, and then there you go. You just zoom these lines on over to where they belong on each of the corners to give you a 3-dimensional looking transparent hexagon. Now don't forget, you gotta group these shapes together or it's going to be a pain. So we're going to use the arrow select tool right up here. I'm going to come off to the side. I'm going to drag that select all the way around. Once everything is selected, go to Arrange and then Group. And there you go. That hexagon will all stay together. Last one is the pyramid. So I'm going to use the blank slide. I'm going to delete my text boxes. I'm going to go to my shapes and I'm going to use the triangle. Now the triangle, same thing. Going to change its color because I like to. And then I need a second one. So Control D to duplicate. All right, now I need to send it to the back. I need to make 2, one in front and one behind. And then, yes, there you go with your line tool again. Use that line. Draw yourself a diagonal line. Move it on over. Use those blue dots to stretch it. And then I need to duplicate it again. So copy paste or Control D, and I move it to the bottom. Of course, if it doesn't match right up, then you use those little blue handles to make sure it matches up, and don't forget to use that select tool and the word group to keep it all together so that you can move it around or resize. Now I'm switching over to my presentation camera. I'm going to make it a bit bigger. All right. If you were doing this on paper, you could either print this out. If you can't print it, then just take a look at the PDF and follow the steps. You could do it on a blank piece of paper. Alrighty. So I have my pencil here. I have my little low-tech straight edge around here somewhere. There it is. I'm going to move my worksheet out of the way because I'm going to go ahead and do this a lot larger. Alrighty. So first thing first, you're going to make your square. Okay, yes, use a ruler for this. You're going to follow the instructions on the worksheet. Okay, so there goes my first square. Ooh, it's not very straight. Oh my, Mrs. Swistak. It will do for demonstration purposes right now. I'm going to make my second square. Remember, up a little higher, and of course, up to the side a little bit, but make sure that it overlaps right here at the corner. Okay, once you have your two squares drawn in, then you're going to go ahead and use your ruler or straight edge to connect up your corners and make it 3D. A lot of you did really well at doing this on our Pear Deck activity yesterday. There we go. And there's our 3D cube. Of course, you would erase your extra lines. And if you want to make it look like it's solid, you're going to erase the lines inside. You'll remember from class I went over some of my lines in Sharpie so you can see it better, but it looks like it's showing up nice and clear on my camera with my pencil. So that's how you do the 3D cube. Alrighty, next we're going to do the cylinder. The cylinder starts out with an oval at the bottom. Then we use the straight edge to do the sides. And then made an oval at the top. All right, pretty much similar to how I just did it on Google Slides. Of course, I'm going to erase some of my lines. That's how you do the cylinder. And then, of course, if you want it to look like it's solid rather than transparent, you're going to erase down at the bottom, and that will give you your three-dimensional solid cylinder. Okay, moving on to the hexagon. It's done a similar way from how we did that square. So I'm going to start with a hexagon. Blot it in real quick. And this again is similar to how we did it on Google Slides. Remember earlier when I did this, I just kind of freehanded it because it was faster and easier for me when I was teaching. So I'm going to draw my second hexagon behind the first one. Remember, we make sure it's a little bit higher up and a little off to the side. I think I accidentally made this one a little bit bigger than the first one. I think that's okay, though. It'll work out just fine. There we go. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to use my straight edge here, and I'm going to connect each of the corners, and it's going to look like it's three-dimensional and transparent. And then once we do some erasing, it will look like a solid hexagon. And apologies if my left hand gets in the way. The struggle is real. All right, so there is my 3D hexagon. Of course, I erase any extra lines. And if I want it to look solid, I will go ahead and erase the extra lines inside, Trying not to make my camera wiggle too much to make anybody dizzy. Okay, and there goes your solid hexagon. And the last one that we did was the pyramid. A little bit different when you're drawing it rather than doing it in Google Slides, but you do have to start out with a triangle. Right, and in the instructions, it shows you at the bottom of the triangle, you're going to put kind of like a trapezoid. And then once you're done doing your trapezoid, you're going to go ahead and connect the corners of the trapezoid to the top point of that triangle to make your pyramid. And of course, again, your pyramid right now is transparent. If you want it to look like it's a solid 3D form, then of course you will erase what you see inside. There you go. And there you have your solid 3D form. Don't forget, this assignment is due on Friday, I believe. And you are, of course, going to attach whatever you have drawn or your file to your assignment and then hand it in when you are finished. I hope this helps for those of you who really need to rewind and replay. I hope you're having a great day. Take care. Happy drawing.